As Jack's weary eyes closed under a blanket of stars, he allowed his mind to drift back through time and space to where it all began that fateful night when pirates had taken him as one of their own on an adventure in the warm Caribbean. The gentle rocking of the ship was like soothing waves lapping against a hull. Its rhythm lulled Jack into dreams, even if they were just memories wrapped in salty sea air and laughter that echoed from below deck to masthead amidst men he barely knew yet felt as though kin. Jack had been an apprentice on the merchant vessel Mercy of God, a proud ship with sails unfurled against azure skies, traversing trade routes for wealthy merchants who valued their cargo more than human lives, and this was exactly what Jack came to realize as he reflected upon his life. The cold discipline under which sailors were treated by the Royal Navy had been a suffocating prison compared to where he now found himself, on board the Siren's Call, pirate ship that promised freedom, even if it meant an uncertain future with no guarantee of safety or wealth at all times. It was as though life in this hidden cove and the company around him were a siren's song, enticing yet unpredictable. On his first night aboard the Siren's Call, Jack had stumbled into their world while trying to escape capture from an enemy vessel that, without warning or mercy as befitting sea rovers of old pirate law, took him and the rest with them against his will. It was a warm evening when he first heard those boots on deck. The Mercy's God, sleek under starlight, while its sails billowed proudly in heritage winds that carried tales from distant lands to every soul aboard, had been rattled by cannon fire and the clash of wooden hulls against steel. Yet within Jack's heart was a calm not even tumult could breach. He'd known discipline at sea ropes, snapping taut in his hands as he labored through daylight shifts, or standing upright on deck amidst raging storms that tested one to their very core with every roll of the ship and crackle of lightning above. In contrast stood the Siren's Call, a jewel-like vessel painted like some mythic creature from tales Jack had heard as an apprentice, her figurehead carved in wood that seemed alive under moonlight, a mermaid with scales shimmering gold and eyes full of mystery. The crew was unlike any other he knew, men who wore tattoos etched into their skin like histories imprint on flesh, faces weathered by sun, sea spray, laughter at the expense of foes, or tales told in whispers that curled around Jack's soul and made him yearn for something wildly different. The Royal Navy had been a regiment where order was law, discipline unyielding as iron, but here on the Siren's Call, it felt like the rigidity of his past life dissolved into freedom-fueled chaos that made him feel alive in ways he never knew. The captain himself, with eyes gleaming beneath a bandarner and tales from across seas told over tankards brimming full, was unlike any officer Jack had known, an enigma who seemed to see beyond the flesh of men into their desires for freedom, adventure, or escape. His command as much about respecting personalities in this motley crew. As he recounted these reflections on past and present with new-found friends that night aboard the Siren's Call, laughter rang out from below deck, where men shared stories of treasure, rumors of gold-laden galleons found or lost to the depths, tales spun tighter than ropes used in sailing ships. Jack could feel himself being drawn deeper into this world he knew nothing about, a strange new chapter unfolded with each passing moment, as if someone plucked his very heartstrings and played them on instruments of fate that sung songs only heard by the likes who shared their lives upon these high seas amongst gulls' cries. For now Jack let himself be carried away in thoughts spun from memories a sailor court between worlds, where discipline was replaced with camaraderie, order gave way to freedom that felt like it could stretch beyond Horus 095-831-57 miles into the night sky. The sea itself seemed alive, whispering tales of its own as Jack allowed himself to be embraced by a new world. Jack's fingers tightened around his mug of steaming tea as he sat listening to tales that flowed like a gentle sea breeze through open sails, carrying with it dreams and whispers from times long past when wooden ships ruled these waters under the command of men who lived by their wits. As the Siren's Call, an aged vessel bearing both history and mystery in its belly, nay, within her very soul, ummed to life beneath him, he found his thoughts adrift on tides beyond memory's reach. Tonight was one of those rare evenings when the ship felt as if she were more than wood and sails. It seemed like a living entity bound by time's embrace, yet untethered from its constraints. An anchorless vessel sailing through eternity, each wave whispering secrets a few dared to comprehend. The air was thick with camaraderie as Jack found himself drawn into the warmth of laughter and stories shared between men whose faces were like old maps carrying tales no two folds alike lines intersect at strange angles, where personalities revealed themselves in bold strokes or faint trails, each marking a story etched deep within. Amidst their revelry sat an enigma, his eyes reflective pools of the night sky above, mysterious and alluring light distant stars guiding sailors' passage towards adventure's shores unknown. He spoke with conviction that seemed to peer beyond flesh into realms untold. This man told tales not just as a means for entertainment, but through reflections on lives led in pursuit of freedom or escape the alluring call of treasure rumored by many had captivated souls across seas and generations like Jack's own. Yet, tonight, he shared stories that echoed with personal growth rather than material wealth. The enigma, known to them as Captain Eldridge, was a man whose reputation preceded him. His legend seemed woven into the very threads of the siren's call. His command wasn't one born merely out of necessity or tradition, but from an understanding that respect for individuality within this motley crew could be their greatest strength. Every sailor brought forth not only skills to navigate stormy waters, both literal and figurative. As the night wore on like a tapestry unfurling thread by silken thread, Jack felt his guarded world begin to dissolve into ether, an enchantment of spirits, as if each laugh shared within these hallowed wooden walls was casting its own spell, transforming him from mere spectator with eyes that have seen too many harbors into a willing participant in this voyage across time's tempestuous sea. The tales spun tonight were not just of gold-laden galleons and sunken treasures, but also of trials faced, storms weathered, friendships tested by the salt air, each story an anchor to something greater than themselves as they swayed on this grand ship their lives. Captain Eldridge's voice carried them all through waves that lapped against hull and heart alike. He spoke of times when discipline was king upon deck, but where respect for every soul aboard reigned supreme in the cabin, crafting a symphony between order and freedom within his domain, as if to say, "This is our world." Within these tales were whispers from Jack's own history, moments he had long forgotten or perhaps never truly lived until tonight, when they blended with Eldridge's memories like colors in the sky at dusk, creating a horizon beyond imagination where freedom wasn't merely an act, but felt as deeply rooted within their spirits as seaweed sways beneath currents unseen. The night wore on, and Jack found himself entranced by reflections that danced upon water's surface, his own story amidst the many intertwining like roots in fertile soil, nourished not only by this strange new chapter, but also forged anew under starlight's watchful eye. The sea herself seemed to listen and murmur tales of sailors long gone who had sought solace within her embrace, a whispering companion that cradled secrets in its bosom like precious eggs harbored by shell-clad nymphs. In the soft glow cast from lantern light, Jack's eyes met with his own gaze and knew he was no longer simply aboard this vessel. The siren call had become a home away from home, an enigma that carried him through waves of introspection wherein memories clung to his heart like barnacles upon the ship's ancient hull. And with each revelation, the sea whispered her secrets to Jack as he lay on his back under a canopy of stars above him and below, listening intently with each flicker in its waves that seemed almost like Morse code or language only for those who truly understood the depths beyond mere surface. Tonight was different. It felt charged with purpose, an echoing pulse through Jack's veins as he surrendered to dreamlike musings spurred on by Eldridge's tales of ancient mariners and their kinship with these very waters, or connection that transcended time itself. In the heartbeat between waves came memories, not his own but shared experiences interwoven within the siren call, as if she were a guardian vessel for those souls who had dared to dance upon her surface before him. The old salty whispers spoke of voyages embarked on by pirates and privateers whose hearts yearned more than the plunder or treasures they saw, turnings that now seemed so distant yet eerily relevant in this moment, as if he was a partaker himself within these very waters where history mingled with present. Jack's thoughts meandered through time like rivers flow into oceans. His own life stories were mere tributaries feeding the vastness of shared human experience aboard the siren call. He remembered Eldridge, a man as enigmatic and weathered as driftwood shaped by relentless tides or sailor, whose eyes had seen sunrises from every horizon he conquered, but who now gazed upon the same sea with quiet reverence rather than restless ambition. The moon climbed higher, casting silvery beams over the siren call as if to illuminate her past passengers, her parade of faces that had graced this ship and found solace in their watery cradle before disappearing into the night like mist evaporating under a hot sun. Jack felt an invisible thread tether him closer, not just with Eldridge or his own history, but as part of something much larger, an eternal cycle that ebbed between generations and ghostly echoes carried on every swell and trough. The ship swayed beneath them in a rhythmic dance dictated by the sea's mood, its timber groaning contentedly as if pleased to bear another soul so attuned with her essence that Jack found himself no longer just an observer, but part of this continuum that wove through every creak and moan. The night was like a tapestry embellished by the constellations above, each star a point in time where past mariners had sought refuge or conquest upon these very waves of celestial map to lost worlds beneath them. As he lay there, Jack traced his fingers along an imaginary thread that connected him back through centuries of sailors who found themselves at this crossroads between the sea and sky. Their stories were woven into the siren call's woodwork or chronicle etched by hands unseen but felt with every heartbeat. He had heard tales from Eldridge about a particular night, one that coincided eerily with tonight when he was aboard this vessel. They spoke of an omen in the stars that foretold great changes and shifts within them, a prophecy unfulfilled until now, as Jack felt himself becoming part of something ancient. A gentle breeze caressed his face, a reminder from nature itself to surrender further control as it swept through the siren calls, rigging like an ethereal sea nymph guiding them forward. Her breath was the only thing pushing against their natural instinct for stillness. The wind carried with it sense of salt and adventure, mingling in Jack's nostrils zero ills as if he had just returned from a forgotten voyage where each experience felt like an integral piece to his identity, now lost among these very waters or puzzle seeking completion under the watchful gaze of celestial bodies. As night deepened into early dawn and shadows grew long on deck, hands that were no longer visible in Jack's vision but had left indelible impressions upon him nevertheless. He felt a kinship with them, a lineage extending beyond the reach of lifetimes encapsulated within the siren call. It was as if every sailor who ever sought refuge or fortune aboard her hull were present, their essence intertwined in this shared vessel that had become his unexpected home away from home, a sanctuary where stories and souls mingled like watercolors bleeding into one another. Upon the sea had always been a comforting presence to Jack, its ebbs and flows like an old friend's arms that embraced him as he slept on his mother's lap when young. As the siren call, sheer white sails billowing with tales of the unknown, whispered sweet nothings against her hull tales Jack had come to know by heart after years spent at sea, each wave a stanza in this eternal mariner's poem he was born into. Yet tonight felt different. Under the siren call, his soul seemed attuned to the ancient rhythms of earth itself, as if they whispered directly through him with every breath that danced within and beyond her timbers like a gentle sea nymph caressing Jack's skin, making it impossible for sleep, not only possible, but deeply desired. The moon hung in the sky, her silver guardian, overseeing his dreamlike journey across time-worn waters, lapped gently at the siren call's sides, as if to lull her owners into a sense of eternal stillness, wherein Jack felt he had been waiting all along. The wind played with the edges of reality on deck, blurring lines between waking and slumber until they were indistinguishable under its toucher siren's call that seemed to promise both escape from time's relentless march forward as well as an invitation back into it by way of a dream. As Jack lay in the captain's quarters, his mind wandered through memories like sifting sand within one hand. The taste of salt water mingling with tales untold carried upon its breath was now not just present but palpably alive beneath him. It had become a tangible part of who he was. He felt himself becoming an integral thread in the fabric woven by generations before and those yet to come, tapestry that seemed at once vast and intimately personal, as if each sailor's spirit were entwined within the siren call, their stories a part of his own legacy. It was during such moments Jack found himself feeling less like the man he had always known, who stood watchful over seas that bore witness to humanity's thirst for discovery and dominance alike, rather as an inheritor keeper of tales where each sunset marked a close chapter in his life's story. The ship seemed alive with narrative energy itself, its wooden bones groaning under the weight of countless stories absorbed over decades spent cradling human souls seeking solace within her belly or chasing horizons for riches beyond their wildest dreams. Her living entity that swayed to a rhythm older than any one heart aboard. Jack's fingers traced the time-worn woodwork of his perch, each groove and knot an echo from forgotten epochs where he imagined himself as part of something grander still, not merely surviving within the siren call, but living through her essence, at his very being intertwined with hers in a symbiotic dance that transcended individual existence. The ship was his family, the sea their home and hearthstone, to which he felt irrevocably drawn as if compelled by an ancestral call beyond reason or choice. Here within the siren call Jack had found kinship with every hand upon deck whose lineage stretched back through centuries of maritime law. In this communion it was not just the ship and sea that felt alive, but also the breeze itself, an ethereal guide whispering secrets as old as time into his ear, a wind-born storyteller unveiling mysteries woven deep within her sail's embrace. The air carried with it whispers of ancient mariners, their spirits intermingling upon these decks like the very brine that lapped at the siren call's sides or congregation, where each soul was both solitary and united in shared purpose beneath her shadowed eaves. As night deepened into early dawn with a subtlety known only to those who have surrendered themselves fully unto the sea, Jack felt his heart swell within him, not just for himself, but as one of many collective vessel that carried stories and dreams upon its back through tempests both literal and metaphorical. The ship's timbers creaked beneath their weight like a cradle rocking to the lullabies sung by waves in languages older than any spoken word, carrying within them echoes of laughter shared amidst salty spray as well as whispers that taught as Jack lay in his bunk aboard the siren call. A soft glow filtered through the portholes, painting him with hues of gold and silver that danced across weathered maps spread before him on deck below. The gentle rocking was as much part of life at sea as breath itself, a rhythmic motion like cradle songs sung by waves in languages older than any spoken word he knew. It beckoned sleep to his weary eyes with its hypnotic cadence, lulling him further into the comforts provided only aboard such a vessel. In this chapter of Jack's journey at sea, chapter 5, the world seemed as vast and uncharted as when he first set foot on the siren call, yet within these familiar walls his soul found solace in the communion shared with every face that had come to know him since then. The deck before Jack was no longer just a platform of planks. It transformed into an altar where stories were whispered and dreams took flight on wings woven from sea spray mist. A mosaic of tales unraveled as he passed the time, each thread representing lives intertwined with his own through countless seasons spent braving Neptune's domain. The mariners had become an extended family to Jack, or congregation where every soul was both solitary and understood in shared purpose beneath the siren Cole's shadowed eaves, as the ship herself seemed a living entity cradling them all through time-weathered waves. With each setting sun that dipped below horizons painted with strokes of crimson and amber, Jack felt his heart swell within him, not just for himself, but reverently acknowledging this collective vessel or mosaic where every soul aboard played a part in the grand tapestry. The timbers creaked beneath their weight like ancient guardians, echoing laughter shared amidst salty spray and holding close whispers of dreams yet to be fulfilled, even as they faced tempests both literal and metaphorical with an unwavering resolve born from a deep-seated bond. The night had arrived in all its enveloping darkness just before the first kisses of dawn whispered across the siren Call's deck. It was then that Jack felt he could truly hear the heartbeat of this ship, synchronizing with every pulse as if they were one entity. The breeze carried murmurs through his mind, or soft susurration like a lullaby sung by sirens themselves, or perhaps even whispered directly into his ear from spirits long forgotten and only known to the sea herself, mysteries woven deep within her embrace, unfurling tales as old as time itself. Jack reached out towards the siren Cole's heart with sturdy oak that formed not just a part of this vessel, but seemed like an anchor for his very soul upon these waters where the past and present melded into one continuous narrative thread through centuries-old maritime law. Here, within her hull stood tales as numerous as stars in firmament above, each sailor's lineage stretching back to when he was youngest brother of earth and sky, when brave souls first dared to defy the horizon's edge with nothing but hope etched into their hearts like seal on a bottle cast adrift upon ocean. As Jack closed his eyes, he could almost feel himself drifting back through time aboard this ship that had become synonymous not only for its name or whispered call to adventure and mystery in the ears of those who followed her course across vast blue depths, but also as a living chronicle steeped within every plank, masthead spar, sail furled or let loose. Within these wooden walls that smelled faintly of brine mixed with old varnish, he sensed himself partaking in an eternal voyage where each day brought forth new chapters written upon sea-foam-drenched pages. The ship and ocean were not just his home, but also a storybook from which life itself was being read aloud. The night's embrace soothed him like one of her own, cradling Jack within its bosom as though he had always been meant to be there as solitary figure amongst the company that shared in their collective journey beneath the siren. He felt his spirit intertwine with those who came and went at life's mercy. An ancient mariner whose ancestors navigated by stars unseen, now sailing under skies painted ever so differently yet somehow recognizably. It was here, as Jack allowed himself to be swathed in a sea of tranquillity by the siren's call, he felt his mind drift towards realms where time flowed like gentle currents beneath moonlit waves, and stars whispered tales older than memory itself into the night air. It was during one such nocturnal reverie that an echo from history seemed to beckon him forth her tale of a great explorer who once sought new worlds and waters not unlike these very ones, his spirit now intermingling with Jack's own as they traversed through the veil between past and present. The story unfolded before Jack like ancient parchment being gently unfurled by hands long since returned to dust, a tale of an expedition that had set sail under skies painted in hues not unlike those he witnessed, searching for lands where no man's footsteps dared tread. It was on this very ship or vessel named after the enchanting calls heard only when night cloaked both sights and sounds alike that history whispered a secret now entrusted to Jack alone in his dreamy state above zero ard the siren's call. Once upon an era where steam met sail and ambition knew no bounds of horizon or heartbeat, there stood the HMS Odyssey. She was not merely constructed as another cog within empire's relentless march forward, but born from dreamers who saw beyond mere conquest for land. Jack felt a kinship with these soul-size essence mingling in spirit with that of men whose names had been etched into the legacy they sought to create upon the canvas of earth and sea alike, their stories now interlaced within his own as he drifted through time's embrace. The Odyssey was a living chronicle where each plank bore witness to countless tales, some joyful laughter shared between crewmen over ration-like meals that tasted of salt and hope, others solemn chants bouncing off the hull as men navigated through tempests both literal and metaphorical. Jack felt an ancient mariner's pulse within him as he imagined himself aboard this fabled ship, his fingers calloused from ropes that kept them anchored to life, eyes weathered yet bright with wonder at the mysteries shrouded in foggy mists and undiscovered shores. One evening amidst tales of stars navigating voyages as old as time itself was when a sea amongst men had predicted an imminent storm or tempest that would test their mettle, spirit, and the very essence of what it meant to be human in search for something beyond themselves. Yet none anticipated how these elements conspired with fate's own hand as they discovered not just a raging squall, but also an island untouched by modernity or maps known even amongst their most seasoned navigators, its very existence defying the charts and compasses that had guided them for so long. The night after this revelation came when Jack sensed himself standing shoulder to shoulder with these explorers as they beheld a sight of unparalleled beauty, or land where trees whispered secrets, waters hummed melodies from forgotten eras, and skies painted portraits that would have made the most extravagant dreamer weep for joy. The very air vibrated with energy, as if inviting them to become a part of something eternal or moment, when they all understood this journey transcended mere travel. It was an icy woven into the fabric of their being, binding every soul aboard in shared destiny and adventure. But not long after these revelations came darkness both literal and figurative, as Jack felt his own heart's light dimming under pressure or weight borne by those who dared to dream too boldly within the confines of their world, where such discoveries were mere whispers between waves or figments birthed from starlight. As he lay on the siren's call now in slumbering bliss, memories flooded back her tempest, not just one they weathered, but also a storm that raged within the confines of human understanding and fear itself, for with every new world unveiled came questions about their place amongst them all, as Jack continued to voyage through time aboard the Siren's Call. He carried these tales in his heart, a tapestry woven from threads spanning centuries, where each fibre resonated with the echo of a dreamer's soul seeking more than just new lands, but understanding and belonging. It was here amidst ancient timbers that Jack found himself not alone, for even as an observer through time, he felt as Jack's thoughts ebbed and flowed like a gentle tide within the Siren's Call. He found solace in its rhythmic creaks that seemed to hum softly along with his heartbeat, or lullaby for the weary traveler who had ventured into realms of unfathomable wonder. Each timbered deck whispered tales from epochs past as if they were ancient guardians, keeping vigil over Jack's restless spirit that yearned to unravel more than just physical distances traveled and temporal voyages embarked upon during the daylight hours of discovery. He had once dreamt of a world where knowledge flowed freely like rivers nurturing civilizations in their youth, but now he understood the greatest explorations lay within the realms between waking moments when minds could traverse uncharted territories beyond sight and sound. This was his odyssey. The weight upon Jack's shoulders had felt as if it were crafted from starlight itself, casting a shadow over each dreamer aboard their vessel of time travel, himself included, for even in the stillness he found within himself lay an unquenchable thirst for more than just destinations. To find understanding and belonging amidst this journey was his heart's true compass. As dawn approached, with its amber fingers reaching across the Siren's Call like a comforting mother gently rocking her child back into the world of light and sound after nighttime explorations had tirelessly stretched beyond what eyes could see or hearts dare to feel, Jack's mind began weaving dreamscapes within dreamscapes, his subconscious painting vistas that danced with possibilities far removed from any physical realm. He drifted among the stars, where constellations told tales older than time itself, not just points of light in a darkened sky, but ancient sentinels guiding mariners through seas unknown, bearing witness to countless lifetimes that had crossed their own paths before and would continue long after his final sunset. Here he saw reflections not only of himself within the infinite stardust, but also echoes of fellow dreamers whose hearts beat in unison with the Siren's Call, kindred spirits who shared this voyage through time as much for discovery's sake, yet more so to find their place among them all. Beneath a sky where nebulae cradled newborn suns like cosmic mothers swaddling infants with promises of light and warmth, Jack felt his spirit merge into the fabric that bound each voyager, towed for a tapestry woven from threads spanning centuries, transcending mere physical form or temporal existence. For in this moment between worlds he understood their journey was not just about traversing space through time, but weaving a shared destiny where every soul aboard the Siren's Call found kinship with one another as they sought more than just new lands. It was an odyssey woven into the fabric of being itself, binding hearts and spirits inseparably to their collective quest for understanding. As he lay now on his bunk within the ship's cramped quarters, that seemed too small after all they had experienced together across ages, his thoughts were a stream meandering through valleys carved by rivers of dream stuff, flowing into seas where ideas grew like coral reefs teeming with life and color. Jack's sleep was not just rest. It was the silence between heartbeats that spoke volumes in hushed tones, or sacred space within which he could commune directly with his own soul as well as those of others who had shared this interminable journey across time's vast expanse. For every dreamer aboard the Siren's Call carried their stories, fears, and aspirations just like him, and together they all sought more than mere survival. It was a pilgrimage toward the heart of understanding that beat within each one, or journey where even as an observer through time he felt part of something eternal in his very essence, a soul forever intertwined with the Siren's Call, its timbers and sails bearing witness to their shared odyssey across realms unseen or understood by the waking world. For Jack knew no their voyage was not just through time, but an exploration of self within a community bound together in purpose. Here aboard the Siren's Call he found solace amidst ancient timbers, dreaming amongst whispers and shared humanity that stretched from the dawn of history to future realms yet unborn. As Jack surrendered once more into sleep's embrace, carried forth these visions in Chapter 8 of Jack's Chronicles aboard the Siren's Call, he found himself in a sea not just made up of water, but also waves upon which stories were carried and sung by every creature beneath its surface. Coral Reef was alive with the hues of history itself. Each night as he lay to rest his weary body amidst an oceanic bedspread, Jack would drift into a realm where time did not flow, but ebbed backward before him like currents in reverse. Here within this liquid canvas etched by hands unseen and voices unsung yet felt, the corals, vivid patterns, wove tales of empires risen and fallen, echoing the laughter of children playing upon their branches, or stark contrast to Jack's solemn ponderings on existence as he watched from his window seat in sleep. He became an unlikely historian aboard this ship that never anchored, but sailed through epochs like ghost ships chasing phantoms across the temporal sea. On one such night, under a sky painted with auroras unknown to waking ice, aurora borealis visible even here in these uncharted realms of time and space, where they might never return home once more before daybreak, Jack dreamt again, as he always did upon the siren's call. In his slumber the boundaries between observer and participant blurred. Jack could touch histories that were not to be touched by others in this world or any other waking time. Within these visions of temporal echoes, Jack found himself amidst ancient civilizations where every stone spoke more eloquently than scholars ever dared dream aloud. He heard the first whispers between lovers sharing a secret beneath starlit skies as Rome burned, felt the weight of armor and faith against invaders, steel in medieval Europe, sensing his ancestors' courageous hearts amidst chaos. But it was upon venturing through epochs where humanity had yet to reach for the stars or even sail beyond sight that he gleaned a deeper understanding or communion with those who lived lives so alien from each other's, and himself. The gyre-wielding soldiers of ancient China stood silently guard against invaders at night. Vikings embarked on voyages as vast in ambition as their ships were small to sails unfurled by hands that knew the meaning of adventure. As Jack traversed these dreamt landscapes, he found solace. Timbers and sails bore witness not only to his shared odyssey with strangers across time, but also whispered secrets held close within their grains, how they had all sought more than mere survival on the siren's call. It was a pilgrimage toward understanding that beat in each heart, connecting souls through the journey of self-discovery. In this dreaming state Jack found himself confronted with his own reflections, past and potential selves intertwined like vines along the siren's call's side wheels. He saw young hands that had once been clumsy, learning the art of seamanship. He witnessed matured visages fraught with wisdom wrought by time spent in contemplation and experience. And within these reflections lay his own path or trail through storms, whether alone, but never walked without solace found amongst fellow voyagers whose stories intertwined like the ropes that held them fast to their shared quest for truth amidst an ocean of endless possibilities, where even in sleep he felt part of something timeless. As morning light broke over this world unseen and futures yet unwoven into existences, fabric the aurora borealis fading as if a memory erased by the coming daylight, Jack's vision waned with its departure, leaving him to return once more upon the siren's call. As he surrendered back onto his bed among sleeping passengers and crew who knew not of Jack nor any traveler before or after them in this temporal tapestry, it was here aboard the ship that swayed on unmoored seas where their odyssey continued, or constant pilgrimage toward understanding within a community bound together by purpose beyond mere survival. And as he laid down his head upon pillows made from cotton and wool spun through generations of quiet hands, Jack carried forth these visions into the day's gentle rise. For here aboard the siren's call was solace amidst timelessness, or place where shared humanity stretched backward to dawn whispers on coral-reefed shores. It mattered not that he would wake as Jack lay in his berth aboard the siren's call. He could hear the muted symphony of waves gently lapping against their wooden hull, or lullaby as old as time itself. Each night brought with it tales woven by a crew that was more kin than mere workers. They were companions on an odyssey through life's tempests and tranquil waters alike, united in the pursuit of understanding beyond their singular voyages towards distant shores or back to familiar harbors. Tonight's tale belonged not solely to Jack, but was shared amongst all who lay beneath the canvased stars or tapestry rich with threads from every soul aboard, as diverse and unique in pattern as they were human when first born into this world of light and shadow. The ship itself seemed almost sentient, its timbers groaning under moonlight like a whispered confession between old friends sharing secrets too profound for daytime ears to comprehend fully. One could easily forget that aboard such a vessel travelled souls across ages or motley crew, bound by fate's unrelenting tug as much on their past and future selves as they were upon the rigging of the Siren's call, which swayed to an ancient rhythm only discernible beneath the cloak of night. Tonight Jack lay next to a young cabin boy named Elliot, who held stories in his eyes like shimmering pearls just waiting for dawn's light to reveal their true worth. Elliot had grown up with seafaring tales passed down from generations before him, stories of the Siren's call as she danced between realms, a beacon and guardian against solitude in an ever-expansive sea that held infinite mysteries beneath her decks. His father was once part of this crew too. He told Elliot how his old captain spoke often to him about the stars above their heads as if they were guides on a celeste zero-isle map, directing them towards destinations both known and unknown with an unfaltering constancy that echoed through time. "The heavens are our compass," he'd said in his weather-beaten voice one evening when the sun had already dipped below Neptune's horizon to rest for a night, "and we find ourselves sailing not just on the Siren's call but across an ocean of possibilities where every wave is both end and beginning." Jack found himself nodding in silent agreement as Elliot continued his recitation. He remembered the boy before him, a child playing with seashells collected from distant, sandy shores that now slept beneath a star-studded blanket far away on land, where he'd never set foot yet felt an undeniable kinship to every shell and pearl held within Elliot's little hands. The boy shared tales of his youth in port towns brimming with life, from the bustling markets that echoed laughter like music until late into the night, where seafarers mingled freely, or stark contrast to this solemn voyage upon which they now sailed under a canopy woven by moonlight. Jack remembered his own youth before the Siren's call had claimed him as more than just another traveller, but one who sought refuge in its embrace, hoping solace would anchor the dreams he carried within each heartbeat and breath. "I think I'd understand," Elliot said at last, pausing to take a deep breath before continuing his narrative, their tale of two cities that once stood on different shores but were united by the Siren's call as she ferried souls between them across the ocean's vast expanse. He spoke with passion about these places where every street corner and alleyway held stories just like their own, each building a repository for humanity's relentless spirit of hope in its perpetual dance with despair beneath an indifferent sky that watched as centuries turned into eons if time itself were the Siren's call. Jack listened to Elliot and others interspersed within the night, each sharing pieces from their lives like mosaic fragments pieced together in a panoramic display of shared human experience. Histories unfolding before him as vividly alive today as they were at birth under different suns. The tales spoke not just of journeys across seas, but also within the realm of dreams, where destinies intertwined with each passing moment like serpents in a Gordian knot that no mortal hand could hope to untangle without invoking divine assistance. Elliot's voice had a soft lullaby-like quality it seemed to wrap around Jack and Eliana, drawing them into his narrative like marionettes entranced by music. The finality of their journey across continents felt distant, as he painted the past with strokes broad yet tender, each brush touching upon dreams both vividly remembered and imagined in sepia tones that spoke to a shared longing for connection beyond time's relentless march forward. In Chapter 9, Elliot continued, his eyes reflective pools of memories as he recounted the tale's pivotal moment confluence where personal histories merged with the Siren's call in a melody that wove through hearts and echoes within their own. "We found ourselves at an ancient lighthouse, standing sentinel on the rocky shore of Serendipity Bay. The siblings had arrived there by chance, a fortuitous meeting with fate's benevolent hand under a starlit canvas that night as they sought rest after their long voyage. The bay was said to be blessed, its waters home only for those who listened closely enough when the sea whispered secrets of unity and peace." Ileana recalled how she had reached out tentatively toward her brother's side on a moss-draped bench as they gazed upon this land, so like their own in spirit, but far into sight, the lighthouse looming above, its beam cutting through the darkness and guiding lost wanderers. "Here," Ileana said with new-found warmth that seemed to emanate from her very being, "is where I understood the Siren's call as more than a legend." Her voice trailed off into silence, allowing Jack's memories or tapestry of his childhood spent on the bay's shores by their grandmother's side during summers that felt timeless in her small village home. He spoke of sun-drenched days and moonlit evenings when he played along these same beaches, collecting shells like treasures washed up from forgotten worlds beyond the horizon's embrace. It had been there where his grandmother told him tales of a time before their family's name existed in any record but within her heart and voice that carried generations forward through word of mouth alone, leaving an indelible mark upon Jack without ever writing them down. Elliot wove the narrative further into threads shared by strangers they had met along this coastal path, or fishermen with stories as deep as his own sea-forged soul, a young artist who captured their tales in brushstrokes that whisper of life's vibrancy and transience. He spoke to Jack about the mysterious old woman whose eyes seemed painted from dreams, sharing her story through silent mime performances under twilight's gentle watcher communion, without words but full of meaning nonetheless. As they delved deeper into these shared histories, Elliot recounted a tale that had been passed down like an heirloom in his family for generations, the legend of the Weeping Willow by Whispering Creek. This willow, he said with reverence laced through each syllable, was once home to spirits lost at sea, who found solace beneath its outstretched limbs until they could face their destinies anew. The legend spoke of a night when the moon was but a sliver in the sky and stars blinked sleepily as if uncertain about waking. The weeping willow had stood resolute, watching over those who came to mourn or seek guidance from its ethereal wisps, their names etched into history by way of water carved around routes that held stories older than time itself in the creek bed below. Eleanor nodded quietly as she listened, her gaze fixed upon Elliot's face, seeking understanding through shared human experiences that transcended their own immediate concerns. Their journey across oceans and continents paled before these narratives of interconnectedness threaded throughout history's fabric. The beauty lies not in the destinations we reach, but rather within the stories our hearts carry forward, Elliot concluded, his voice a soft echo that seemed to resonate with Jack's own soul as he leaned into shared memories and newfound knowledge like two ancient trees drawing strength from one another's roots. As dawn approached on their horizon, a tapestry of orange-hued promise woven by the coming sun, Eleanor smiled, feeling a kinship with this place that they had come here seeking solace after enduring trials that made every step feel heavier than before their journey through storms of loss, love's ebbing tides against unyielding rocks, and times when their destinies seemed as obscured by fog as the paths they once knew. The willow's presence had always been a constant reminder that life was not just about reaching one shore, but understanding how it flowed between shores in an eternal dance with time itself. Her lesson Ileana found herself reflecting upon more intimately now, her heart beating to the rhythm of ancient wisdom and newfound connections. In a world where journeys often meant severance from one's past self as much as they did rediscovery, Jack looked into Ileana's eyes, her silent plea for understanding hanging between them like an unspoken covenant that spoke of shared histories and intertwined fates. Each tale wove itself around the other until their narratives melded seamlessly. They were both travelers in search of home, finding a deeper sense of belonging not just within each other, but also to this place which had always been more than mere backdrop. It was an integral character that nurtured souls and cradled memories like precious jewels. As Eleanor listened intently to the stories told by water carving its way through stone, she thought of her own family's history intertwined with this land. Generations had come before them seeking refuge under these same branches from wars that raged as fiercely at sea and on battlegrounds. Their ancestors were not just settlers but survivors who thrived in the embrace of natural beauty, their lives a testament to resilience, their legacy that humbled Eleanor's own struggles with loss when compared to such enduring spirits. Elliot's presence had been an anchor for her soul through countless nights spent under stars, watching over these sacred tales. He too found himself enveloped in the willow's timeless embrace, his heart echoing Eleanor's own as they shared stories passed down from ancestors whose whispers seemed to flow freely between them. The creek had witnessed many gatherings where bonds were forged and broken, yet here was a promise of continuity that extended beyond their lifespans like ripples expand across water, touching shores unseen but felt in the fabric of existence itself. With each word spoken by Elliot or recited from memory, Jack found himself more deeply rooted to this place and its people, a realization dawning on him as light began spilling over ripples that curled like fingers, seeking connection with distant shores. The willow's leaves whispered of patience, It had taught Eleanor how the slow passage of time could heal even the deepest wounds, forging a mosaic from fragments and embracing every hue within its canopy as part of nature's grand designer comfort to strangers turned confidantes. The night unfurled around them like an endless tapestry threaded with stories that transcended ages. They learned how this land had cradled civilizations, fostered cultures in bloom, and witnessed empires rise from the ashes of their own demise, cycle repeating itself under its boughs. As Eliana absorbed these revelations, she felt an ancestral call to continue her family's legacy within this place where time seemed both elastic and eternal. It was here that they could honor those who had walked the path before them while carving their own story upon history's ever-expanding mural. The symphony of dawn approached as if on cue, a gentle crescendo promising renewal, with its radiant embracer promised to Eleanor and Jack that new beginnings were always possible in the heart's garden where memories bloomed like flowers bathed in sunlight after long nights. As they stood shoulder to shoulder under the willow, as Eleanor and Jack stood beneath that ancient willow's outstretched arms, their silhouettes mere shadows cast by the moonlight's soft caress upon verdant ground, they shared a moment of serene reflection, their souls alight with stories yet to unfold. The air was thick with anticipation and an unspoken understanding that they were about to embark on this journey together as partners in weaving history into their own legacy under the willow's timeless watch. Their thoughts meandered back through time, tracing lines of continuity where others saw division or shared heritage rooted deep within these fertile lands and waters that had cradled human endeavor for millennia. Jack found himself entranced by tales Eleanor whispered into his ear about the very soil beneath their feet. It was here, in this sacred grove of wisdom, where legends were said to have walked hand in hand with kings and queens who had once graced these grounds as they too sought solace from life's relentless pace. Eleanor spoke fondly about the Druids, who revered willow trees for their healing properties, a testament to nature's unmatched ability to soothe both body and spirit in times of sorrow or lesson she had learned well while listening intently as Eleanor recounted her own childhood spent within these woods. They paused on the edge, where water whispered secrets from beneath its surface, remembering tales told by elders about ancient rituals that once danced upon this very stream and how it shaped destinies of those who believed in communion with nature's essence. As Dorn's tender fingers began to pry apart night's embrace across the skyline above them, Eleanor felt a kinship not only within herself, but also between Jack and Echo from another soul that understood and cherished history as they did now in this place of timeless beauty where time seemed suspended. It was here, at twilight's cusp, when she shared with him her visions for their future, weaving dreams into aspirations to become guardians not just within these hallowed grounds, but also across the world. They would carry forward stories from past cultures and nurture seeds of wisdom that could bloom afresh in generations yet unborn. Together with Jack's quiet support, Ileana drew inspiration as she recounted her family's own tale stories passed down through whispering lips across countless hearth fires, how their forebears had once found this place a haven from life's stormy seas and made it home. In those memories lay the strength that now coursed within them, as they understood their role in continuing to mend hearts with empathy's gentle touch, just like Ileana knew how her own ancestors had once done here when adversity struck hard upon these shores. In this sacred space, where history and nature intertwine so closely that one could hardly tell them apart, their spirits felt a kinship to all who came before, the lineage of souls forever linked through shared stories told beneath willow canopies or tapestry woven from countless threads spanning across time. They pledged each other's allegiance in preserving this bond and ensuring that their footprint would be one imbued with reverence for all who had walked these paths before them, while simultaneously laying down tender roots to grow new histories yet untold within its embracer, promise carved not into stone but etched upon the very soul of time itself. As a symphony rose from Dorn's choir above their heads, it seemed as though nature herself concurred with this pact, bestowing upon Ileana and Jack her blessings through vibrant hues that painted themselves across azure skis in affirmation in the bloom of daybreak. And just like petals unfurling at sunrise's touch after night's tender kiss, they found their resolve strengthening within them. For this place was more than soil and bough to these two hearts entwined by fate beneath its sentinel willow. It had become the very essence of home, where past and present merged into a future only boundless in potential. As first light crowned Illiana's face with radiance, she felt an affirmation that echoed within her being. This moment was not merely for reflection, but also to set forth upon their shared journey or pilgrimage through time, where they would both learn and impart wisdom like alchemists transmuting leaden sorrows into golden joys. It wasn't just about preserving history. It within chapter 13 gentle embrace lay a tale not of conquest, but of communion with history and nature, where Illiarner's heart danced in rhythm to whispers carried by wind through ancient trees, their leaves telling tales older than time itself. In the sanctuary beneath whispering willows stood two souls whose footsteps resonated on sacred ground. Their shared journey was a tapestry woven from threads of joy and sorrow, each step imbued with reverence for ancestors who had once trod this hallowed earth. As they ventured forth upon the mossy paths carved by generations past, Illiana found herself wrapped in memories as tangible as her own reflection staring back at her from a pool of shimmering water, a mirror to nature's soul, where she saw not just eyes but windows into times gone and yet to come. Jack's gaze held the depth of starlit nights, his heartbeat syncopated with the drumming pulse that echoed through hollow oaks. Together they walked in silent conversation as old friends might do, under a canopy woven by intertwined branches overhead or living archway to days long past. In this realm where time flowed like molasses, each bend brought Illiana and Jack closer not only to one another, but also deeper into the heart of their shared heritage. Herein lay a secret garden that thrived on stories untold, or place between breaths where history's silent applause buoyed them forward. It was said among these woods time stood as patient and watchful gardener rather than ruthless overseer of change. And so they embarked upon their pilgrimage through the mists of yesteryears, with open hearts, each shrubbery a chapter in history's grand narrative, each fallen leaf an epistle from nature itself to those who dare listen closely enough. As twilight descended, painting shadows like brushstrokes on their pathway, the air grew thick with promises of adventures that awaited them where ancient relics lay hidden and fabled creatures stirred beneath umber soil, a world alive in its quietude yet vibrant as a dream. The night sky unveiled itself to be an open book above their heads, stars twinkling tales into the velvet darkness. Constellations that once guided wanderers now served as celeste zero-isle compasses for Illiana and Jack's quest through chronicles of legacy or voyage transcending mere discovery. Within this cosmic tapestry they found maps not drawn, but felt in their very essence, leading them to moments suspended between yesterday's echo and tomorrow's whisper. The promise that here beneath these sentinel willows existed a bridge where past wisdom met future dreaming, or confluence of time itself. As Dorn's fingers caressed earth with tender warmth, they came upon an ancient stone circle paved not by hands, but by love and toil through ages. The stones themselves bore witness to countless sunrises akin to this one that now promised new beginnings, or a sacred space where Illiarner's heartbeat melded into cadences of ancestral drums. The very air around them thrummed with energy, as if celebrating their commitment by wrapping the couple in an embrace both ethereal and profound. It was a moment when past joined future to craft something entirely new, a beacon for all who would ever seek refuge within these woods. Tender grasped, their journey continued into sunrises, full bloom as they discovered hidden frescoes etched on cavern walls, not with pigment, but life itself. Here lay stories of mirth and melancholy that time had spun like silk from the looms of history, a gallery alive with hues more vibrant than any artist's brush could conjure. It was a place where shadows danced, not to concealment, but celebration, an enclave within which Illiana and Jack found their spirits both challenged by echoes long past, yet nurtured for the tales they would one day impart, a crucible of self that honed them into vessels worthy of legacy. Within this chronicle-laden landscape, where history was a living being intertwined with roots and branches alike, Illiarner's hand found Jack's beneath canopies woven by ancient trees. His touch spoke volumes in the language of shared humanity, or silent pact to honor these woods as custodians of their future narratives. Here they vowed not only to tread upon soil enriched with stories, but the day had started with golden rays piercing through the forest's heart and guiding them to explore its unseen corners. Today was different, though, for they sought something deeper than mere exploration. It wasn't long before Illiana stumbled upon a grove where whispers seemed etched into every leaf that shimmered with dew, at Dorner Place, called the Whispering Glade by those who knew of it well enough to share its existence without revealing too much. for what is known can become lost in overexposure. As they approached this hushed glade within which time seemed almost as malleable as clay at a potter's wheel, the air around them grew thick with anticipation and ancient knowledge. Here were stories not just told but lived, tales of old where heroes rose to meet dragons in flight or spirits that danced on moonbeams, legends etched into the very soil beneath their feet by hands both human and spectral from an era when magic was as commonplace as breathing, yet equally fragile. It felt like stepping across a threshold where past met present, for each tree here bore witness to countless seasons of joy and sorrow alike, a bark etched with histories not just told but remembered in every rustle. In the glade's center stood an ancient oak, its gnarled limbs stretched towards heaven as if cradling secrets that it had borne silently for lifetimes untold. Under this venerable sentinel lay a stone pedestal on which rested not just Eleanor and Jack's handprints, but those of all who sought solace within these woods. This was the place where stories flow as rivers, some calmly meandering through time, others rushing forth with urgency to be heard before they could fade into oblivion like mist at dawn's first light. Herein lay their purpose for seeking refuge in this forest of dreaming roots and whispered breezes. Ileana felt a kinship as strong as the very earth beneath her feet, sensing an interconnectedness with all that had come before and what might yet be shared through tales not lost but merely waiting to unfurl from heartstrings into words upon pages or spoken aloud under starlit skies. As daylight waned and twilight ushered in the night, they found themselves walking hand in hand toward a clearing where fireflies began their synchronized dance of luminescent wisps or beacon to lead them deeper into realms uncharted by any map gnome. Here were stories not bound but free, tales that traveled on wings or inked across parchment and pulped leaves, flown upon air currents like seeds seeking fertile ground where they might grow anew for listeners yet to commemorate a legacy of humanity's shared heartbeat. A cool breeze brushed against their faces as if nature itself urged them forward. Liliana and Jack paused beside a rippling stream, its surface mirroring not only the sylvan sky, but also reflections of selves they were becoming within this ancient woodland world, an echo chamber for growth, where every step taken upon earthen soil nurtured their souls like rain to thirsty roots. The night deepened and stars emerged, one by one. Constellations told stories in a language beyond words as the couple took refuge under an umbrella of intertwined branches crafted from time's own loom. Her was solace not just found but forged within these woods where each tree stood sentinel over tales untold and futures yet to unfold. And so, with eyes closed against the night's embrace, Ileana reached out towards Jack as if their hands were threads in a tapestry woven from dreams or shared humanity that whispered of love beyond time's dominion, where every story told was another step upon an unending path toward understanding. In this sacred space, between heartbeats and the forest's own pulse, they discovered not just tales to tell, but themselves, for in each other were as Ileana and Jack nestled in their secluded spot within the ancient forest glade or place where time seemed to flow like a gentle stream rather than march forward with relentless determination. They found themselves enveloped by an almost tangible sense of peace, as if the very essence of tranquility had made its home among these whispering leaves and aged bark. The night air carried their breaths away in soft tendrils that danced like silver threads against a tapestry woven from starlight. It was this serenity they sought to hold close, as the world beyond lay shrouded by darkness, save for glowworms whose tender luminescence punctuated their shared solitude. Ileana's hand found its way over Jack's, and together in silence, a silent pact was formed, their commitment to cherish this night as they had always yearned, an intertwining of hearts within the forest's embrace, while it cradled their dreaming forms. With each passing moment, under the watchful eyes of ancient guardians above them and beneath them, Ileana felt a warmth blossom in her chest, a realization that no words need be spoken for understanding to take root. They were two spirits finding solace amidst nature's quiet symphony. In this sacred enclave, where each leaf told of ages past and every shadow held future possibilities, the couple was reminded anew of their own stories or shared journey that had brought them here in search of something beyond themselves, a connection to one another deepened by experiences as numerous as they were profound. It seemed almost whimsical how fate could guide Ileana and Jack into each other's arms, much like the forest guided lost souls back home with its enduring embrace, a refuge for weary hearts seeking respite from life's toils. as a gentle rain began to fall upon them, as if on cue after their silent promise was made beneath this umbrella of living wood and foliage. The couple's laughter mingled with the patter of droplets or celebration in itself for having found such harmony. They had both sought solace here before. Jack once a wanderer through life's tempestuous seasons looking for direction, while Eleanor was but an observer to his journey, her heart aching within as she watched him find the path he needed and choose it with unwavering certainty, a beacon of hope in times where uncertainty had been their shared constant. Now together they stood beneath a sky painted with silver streaks from distant thunderclouds. Jack's hand tightened around Eleanor's as his voice broke the quiet. "Do you remember when we first met?" His words carried no urgency, but rather an invitation to reminisce a journey through time encapsulated in a single memory. "I do," she replied softly with a smile that spoke of nostalgia and gratitude intertwining like the ivy along their shelter. "It was beneath this very sky when our paths first crossed." She paused to recall as vivid memories bloomed within her mind, her tapestry rich in hues only nature's palette could provide. The forest had whispered secrets of old into Eleanor's soul on that fateful day, and the very trees seemed alive with tales, waiting for ears willing to hear them out loud. Jack listened intently as she shared her story way. His heartbeat found its rhythm in syncopation with every word. Their connection was a tapestry of moments spun over time's loom, where each thread had been carefully chosen and woven into something far greater than the sum of individual parts. Their love, like these woods that stood sentinel to countless untold stories, promised depth beyond measure and resilience as ancient as stone. In this secluded corner, amidst whispers of leaves in a language not spoken aloud but felt deep within one's being, or place where each echo carried the weight of eons and every fragrance told tales spanning generations, Eleanor found herself reaching for Jack's hand, her fingers tracing patterns that had become familiar through touch alone. With a reverence in their actions came a recognition of something sacred about this moment. They were writing history together with no need to speak its name or testament, born not from grand gestures, but the quiet continuity of shared presence and silent companionship. The rain intensified, casting an even deeper spell upon them as Eliana leaned closer against Jack's side for warmth that seemed almost palpable in this secluded world. Their bond had blossomed under countless canopies like the sere as Jack took Leonor's hand within his own, a gesture as natural to him now as breathing. They both felt an electric connection pulsing with life's vitality. It was a love woven from shared silences and unspoken understanding, where every heartbeat synchronized in the quietude of nature. The ancient oak stood witness, its leaves rustling softly like pages turning as Eleanor traced patterns into Jack's palm, their touch weaving an invisible tapestry that told stories longing to be remembered through generations yet unborn. The rain intensified around them in a symphony of falling droplets, each one imbued with the essence of tales waiting centuries for release into earshot. Their love was as enduring and resilient as these woods that had cradled civilizations before this very moment, a refuge where secrets were safe from prying eyes. Eleanor leaned closer to Jack's side, seeking solace not just in the warmth he provided, but also a sense of continuity within their shared existence. She imagined herself as part and parcel with these woods that had seen countless seasons come full circle, a living testament to enduring bonds. In this secluded world they found themselves, where time seemed suspended in the embrace of nature's arms. Eleanor felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. Her heart resonated with a rhythm that matched Jack's own steady beat, or melody composed by their intertwined souls. She realized then how every touch had been significant, not just as physical contact, but the silent acknowledgement they offered to one another's presence in this world and beyond it. Their connection was an unspoken pact that transcended verbal communication, a sacred communion where love's language needed no words, or testament of shared existence written upon their very beings as if ancient runes etched into the fabric of reality itself, narrating tales through actions and feelings beyond comprehension. The rain whispered secrets to Eleanor's skin. She felt it on her cheeks with a cool caress that spoke directly from nature's heart, her silent sonnet composed in droplets against the backdrop of an eternal night sky now obscured by passing clouds, casting ephemeral shadows upon their tableau. Jack sat beside Eleanor as she gazed upward through fingers intertwined with his own. Together they watched a ballet of light and shadow play across leaves, that danced gently to the rain's percussive rhythm or visual symphony in response to life's tender melodies playing out below. As night deepened its hold on their corner, Eleanor leaned back against Jack for support, not only because of his physical presence but also as a reminder that she was never alone. He had become an anchor tethering her soul firmly within the realm where past and future merged seamlessly into one indistinguishable present. Their shared warmth in this cool embrace spoke volumes, or language more eloquent than words, their bodies moving softly to a tempo set by nature's own heartbeat. They were two souls sailing upon the same current of existence, without need for spoken direction or explicit guidance from any external source. The rain continued its descent, as if it knew itself an integral part in this story and narrative that extended beyond their shared moments underneath this ancient oak, weaving into a larger tapestry where countless souls had found solace and unity. Eleanor felt her spirit intertwine with these threads of continuity, with each beat of his heart against hers at the base of her ribcage connection not just between individuals, but also to this world itself, as if their bond could very well be its lifeblood through time's endless corridors. She realized that they were partaking in a communion transcending temporality. Their hands continued to trace patterns and pathways on each other's skin, an exchange of energy, where every touch imbued with significance, as if the universe itself was, as night deepened its velvet touch across the land and stars above began their silent waltz in the firmament. Eleanor nestled closer into her lover's embrace, finding solace not just within his arms, but also beneath this timeless canopy of interlacing branches. The ancient oak had borne witness to countless such moments since its seedling days guardian, that hummed with the wisdom gleaned from eras long past and those still unfolding into tomorrow's mysteries. Yet here they were together in a quiet corner under its watchful presence, their souls resonating at frequencies felt rather than heard. The rain had ceased to fall moments ago, but lingered as though it hesitated before being claimed by the earth from whence Eleanor and her companion drew life's essence. Droplets clung stubbornly upon leaves, like precious jewels caught in nature's tender grip, each one a testament to their shared journey through sunlight-soaked afternoons, as well as whispered confessions under the cloak of moonlit secrecy. Eleanor's fingers brushed against his skin with delicate certainty, or touch that spoke in intimate whispers about beginnings and endless continuance, promising an undying echo through ages, where love could become legend itself. Her heart synchronized to the rhythm of this union, felt within their very beats, as if pulsating like a living entity capable of shaping destinies. Their eyes met in silent understanding, a meeting that transcended mere physicality and wove together threads invisible yet omnipresent, binding them beyond the here and now into eternities where neither time nor tide could erode their connection, or separate souls, once entwined within this sacred sanctuary of shared existence. He traced her cheek with a tenderness that belied his strength, her caressing hand guided by impulses deeper than mere mortal love, touching upon contours and lines etched into their faces like chapters in the storybook they had composed together. Ileana felt herself becoming part of something greater, as if every heartbeat pulsed through her veins was a note played on cosmic instruments where harmonies meld seamlessly with melodies. She sank deeper into his embrace, allowing the world's cacophony to fade away, until only their breathing synchronized in quiet reverence, a duet of souls finding tranquility within each other's presence, where love transcended all boundaries and became as boundless as horizons kissed by sunrise or moonbeam. Their bodies moved slowly together, a silent ballet choreographed not just to the music heard in their hearts, but also felt like whispers carried on wind that danced through branches above the mass symphony of sensation, where each touch and glance wove threads into an ever-expanding tapestry. Ileanor's spirit intertwined with these strands, feeling its texture beneath her fingertips, as if she could trace the lineage back to ancestral weavers who had spun similar webs of unity under canopies like this one. As night deepened and stars above began their luminous procession across firmament's expanse, Ileana felt herself becoming a part of something immeasurable, her heartbeat melded with his, as if they were two pulses in the lifeblood flow that coursed through every living thing. She realized then and there this connection was not just between them, but also threading into all existence, where love's essence could become immortalized. They continued to explore each other's contours, or communion of skin against skin, as if their very atoms were exchanging stories through touch, every caress imbued with meaning that transcended language or time itself, while embracing the knowledge they shared was not just an exchange, but a legacy being scribed into eternity's ledger. In this sacred grove, where history and futurity merged seamlessly as one indistinguishable presenter place, neither Eleanor nor her beloved could ever truly leave for fear of severing ties that bound them not just to each other, but also to the very fabric of continuity. Here beneath ancient boughs was a haven where souls found their final rest, forever entwined. As dawn began its slow creep across skies painted with hues only night could offer a spectacle unrivaled by day's brilliance, yet equally transcendent in beauty and depth of emotion. Ileana felt herself on the precipice of something beyond as Ileana stood there in that sacred grove where time seemed to fold upon itself and merge into a singular present. She felt as if they were standing at history's grand finaler moment of profound connection echoing through epochs untold. The ancient trees whispered secrets older than the land beneath her feet. Their leaves rustled with tales of beginnings and endless cycles where love was both birthright and ultimate conclusion, a perpetual dance between presence and absence that Eleanor now understood more deeply. In this grove they had sought refuge from life's relentless pace or place, untouched by the world's cacophony of ambition and decay, where only their shared silence spoke volumes about what truly mattered to them both. A simple truth that was as eternal as the stars. It wasn't just any night, but one they would come to cherish forevermore, a celestial event marked by rare alignment within themselves rather than in cosmic bodies overhead. The air around Eleanor hummed with an energy born of pure intimacy and shared awareness that transcended the realm where science meets spirit, a connection fostered not through words, but felt emotions or language more potent than any human tongue could ever weave together. In their embrace, she found solace in knowing they were never alone. Her heartbeat was no longer hers to command, as it now resonated with his own rhythm like two pendulums, swaying gently against the backdrop of eternity's stillness. As dawn approached on this extraordinary night, Ileana and her beloved felt an ineffable sense that they were witnesses to something beyond themselves, a phenomenon where love's true essence was not confined by human lifespans, but instead could imbue itself into the very marrow of existence. The horizon began its ascent toward morning light, casting a prismatic display across their 0125 skies. Yet within this ephemeral beauty lay an echoing promise that transcended mere visual splendor, a sacred testament to love's enduring capacity for renewal and transformation. Their journey through the night had led them here, at the edge of awakening, where Eleanor sensed a threshold not just between day and night, but also an existential crossroads that beckoned with open arms into uncharted realms beyond human comprehension, a place neither fear nor hesitation could find purchase in their hearts. For within this sacred grove they had discovered the power to touch eternity itself, a gift bestowed upon them by forces no lesser than those who first wove love's fabric into being eons ago, when creation hummed its nascent song beneath starlit canopies untouched by time. With each shared glance and tender caress, Ileana felt their spirits intertwine, a fusion of souls so complete that even the conceptual boundaries separating them from other life forms seemed to melt away like morning mist under sun's first rays. She knew then more than ever before how profoundly they were bonded not only with one another, but also, inexorably and irrevocably, as elements of a grander cosmic design where love could become an immutable presence. As the world beyond their sanctuary slowly stirred to life under morning's tender touch, or time when daybreak kissed sleep from weary eyes across continents and cultures alike, Ileana whispered promises into her beloved's ear that would never be spoken louder nor held more dearly, an oath of fidelity beyond mortality, a vow to remain tethered in heart as surely as gravity binds the earth to its orbit, a sacred covenant sealed within their very essence. In this grove, where ancient trees stood sentinel over history's most intimate secrets, Ileana and her beloved found themselves forever etched into an everlasting narrative of love that transcended the ephemeral nature of human life itself, her testament to a bond forged not just within their souls, but also inextricably woven through all existence, from star-born atoms, threaded together by destiny's delicate hands. As dawn's golden fingers reached across skies awash with the colors of twilight, a display so rare and fleeting that only those who witness it at this singular moment could ever hope to fully grasp its majesty. Ileana knew they were standing on sacred ground, where time itself had paused long enough for her heart's deepest yearnings not just to be realized, but immortalized within the annals of eternity. In my heart, she began gently, is a vessel for timeless love. Her voice was but the brush of velvet against his skin as he leaned closer, her touch grounding him in this sacred space where history breathed through them with each shared breath. The couple had come to understand that their union transcended mere mortal existence, and they sought now not just for happiness within these hallowed grounds, but also a legacy of devotion beyond the veil of death, itself a promise made as solemnly sincere as it was eternally unbreakable. Together, Liliana and her beloved had woven their souls into an intricate tapestry that spanned all ages, each thread representing a heartbeat in time's vast expanse. They embraced the reality of their unique connection where love could flow as freely through eternity's corridors as it did within these present moments, defying the transient nature of human life with an unyielding bond that only they had experienced and nurtured like a rare bloom in perpetual spring. As Eleanor's fingers traced delicate patterns along her beloved's back, her gesture both tender and ancient, as if to imprint the contours of their souls onto one another, their love story began taking shape beyond this world, etched into existence not just within them, but in all creation. It was a narrative that would endure alongside stars birthed from nebulae's embrace before humanity had even drawn its first map upon the earth or whispered of dreams across untamed frontiers, a love story so profound it seemed to echo through time itself, as if history were listening intently for their tale. Liliana and her beloved stood in silent awe beneath this celestial tapestry they felt woven by the threads of destiny themselves. Each star above them was like an ancestor's dream or legacy passed down through generations, guiding souls towards unity with another across lifetimes. And within their own embrace under the last haven's verdant dome lay a love that promised to become legend or beacon for others yet unborn who might find solace in knowing such devotion was once nurtured here on this same sacred ground, where twilight and dawn met as one. The couple had learned of an age-old prophecy whispered among the roots beneath their feet. It spoke of a time when love so pure could awaken the last haven to life or sanctuary that lay in wait for souls who dared venture into its depths with hearts unblemished by deceit. As if guided by an ethereal hand, Ileana and her beloved found themselves drawn back here time after time throughout their lives. Each visit was a pilgrimage to this consecrated arboretum where they could commune in the silence of understanding, a place that offered refuge not just from worldly troubles, but also sanctuary for hearts seeking eternal communion. The day had been long and full, yet now as Eleanor looked upon her beloved's face illuminated by a light beyond mere mortal sight, she felt the weight of centuries ease off their shoulders, her sensation that spoke to them both in languages older than words or time itself. They knew this moment was one for which history would remember. Even now, as they stood together with hands entwined and souls melded within a union defying mortality, Liliana could sense the presence of ancestors who had come before, a lineage that extended from first embrace to their own in an unbroken chain. Within the last haven's sacred confines, surrounded by ancient trees as old as time itself, and under skies painted with colors not seen since twilight's last breath, Liliana had come of age, a guardian of a love that would transcend her own life like the stars above. It was here where she felt most at peace, within this grove, among these sentinel trees and whispered pledges to each other's hearts. They found not just solace, but also purpose in there as dusk settled over the last haven like a tender shroud of comforting darkness. Ileana and her beloved found themselves seated upon an ancient stone bench that had borne witness to countless such moments under its cool touch, or testament to the eternity they sought within their union. A gentle breeze carried with it whispers from leaves, rustling in a dance of timeless sighs, as if imparting secrets of ages past directly into Ileana's ear and her beloved's heart through its tender caress. Their hands still entwined like ropes, seeking water after drought, each fingerprint an echo of shared dreams, sculpted in the soft earth beneath them, a canvas for their love story that was to be etched into history's unfading stone. Ileana looked upon her beloved's face once more as twilight deepened and realized this moment transcended beyond mere human experiences. It felt like stepping across an invisible threshold guarded by the ancestors, a bridge spanning from their first embrace to every touch henceforth between them in the last haven. Their communion was not confined only within these sacred bounds, but also extended into shared memories that had been woven together like threads of gold through her mind, or tapestry rich with the hues and patterns unique to their journey. each strand representing a chapter filled with laughter as bright as daybreak, or silence so profound it echoed in reverberating waves across time. Eleanor had always felt an indwelling presence within the last haven, a constant whisper that seemed to flow through the very air and stream alongside them, carrying tales of love's timeless resilience, as if their own story was just another verse added by scribes unseen since before humanity began. It lulled her thoughts into a meditative trance where reality gently blurred with fantasy until she found herself staring up at the constellations that seemed to mirror patterns of affection and commitment, each star burning brighter in resonance with their own enduring bond. On this evening, their 50th anniversary celebration within the last haven's embrace, which had been a gift from time itself for loving souls such as Eleanor's, so deeply into one another felt the weight of centuries lift, leaving her spirit lighter than air. It was not just their love that defied mortality, but also this very moment, when life seemed to pause and acknowledge them in reverence, a quiet homage paid by an ageless earth itself acknowledging two spirits who had found eternity within each other's arms, as if they were the final notes held at end of time's symphony. Their whispers became hushed prayers offered to the last haven for continued guardianship over their lover, plea woven with threads so fine that one could easily misplace them within life's unending tapestry. Yet they were as present and potent as the very essence of being. Eleanor's heart was a vessel overflowing not just with gratitude for this sanctuary, but also an awareness deepened by their shared journey, a realization that in the last haven's embrace there existed no boundaries, only infinite horizons, where love had the freedom to roam unfettered. As night cloaked them both and stars blinked into existence overhead with a knowing twinkle, as if they were old friends privy to Eleanor's secret thoughts of belonging among their ancestors. Wisps took her beloved in, encircling his neck, where warmth flowed between skin against hers. Their shared breath became the soundtrack for this sacred silence. It was a symphony so intimate that even the last haven seemed to lean closer into the fold of night itself as their hearts beat an ancient rhythm known only by those who dared love beyond life's temporal chains. Within Eleanor's gaze, her beloved found not just eyes, but a window-pane revealing scenes from countless sunrises they had witnessed towed for a cascade of golden light that seemed to flow through the very core of their being, with every blink shared between them during moments when darkness threatened and dawn was yet unseen. And as he held her gaze, she too found herself drawn into visions so vividly real that time itself stood still within his depths, where histories collided in silent reverence for the love they embodied here upon the last haven's sacred earth. Their presence together had become a part of this place, as much like its ancient trees whose roots held secrets and whose branches offered shelter from life's, as Eleanor and her beloved found themselves encased in a languid embrace beneath the last haven's twilight canopy. They began to recount tales of their ancestries steeped as much in legend as the roots that fed into this very soil. Each narrative was not just about battles won or lost, but more importantly a testament to love's resilience across epochs and eras. Their voices, softened by weariness yet bright with reverie, wove through memories of ancient lovers who too had found solace beneath the stars that now watched over them like silent guardians. It was an age where passion coursed freely without fear's shadow, a time when love meant sharing whispers as loudly and tenderly as their own breath, mingling together, unfiltered by modernity's cacophony or disconnect from nature herself. Their beloved listened intently to tales of valor intertwined with romance, of how they would sit beside rivers that whispered wisdom back through time, and under moonlight so pure it seemed a touch divine, their love immortalized in the heartbeats echoing against stone walls worn smooth by countless such tender moments before them. As night deepened around the last haven's enclave of kinship, Eleanor's beloved revealed his own dream, where he danced with shadows beneath a sky ablaze, a spectacle witnessed only in the quietest corners of an ancient world that understood love not as ephemeral but eternal. And together they imagined themselves within this dance, their movements synchronized to melodies unheard yet felt deep in bone and sinew. Every step a wordless verse, adding chapters to the last haven's living history, of which Eleanor was an integral part through her beloved's eyes. Their shared dream had transported them across eons, where they were not merely observers, but participants in the grand tapestry woven from threads spun by lovers since before memory could claim to contain their stores or any story of such profound unity with another soul and land that time's relentless march seemed in irrelevant measure. Eleanor's beloved reached for her hand, his fingers tracing the contours as if they were etched into history itself, a gentle pressure here to ease away sorrow. There an acknowledgment of shared burdens carried through lifetimes where their love's essence would echo amidst ruins and reverie. Underneath the last haven, Ileana felt the embrace as though it was an extension of herself, her heartbeat now entwined with his own in a rhythm that resonated within her very being. She saw him not just before her, but through eyes wide open to infinity, where every gaze carried depths unfathomable yet intimately known. And as the stars blinked into existence, like pinpricks of eternity against night's velvet drape, Ileana and her beloved closed their weary eyelids in a silent prayer, a plea not to be forgotten, but simply remembered amongst the last haven's whispers. Their presence here was an act as old as time. Like the ancient trees whose roots delved into secrets long buried, and branches that promised refuge from life's relentless onslaught, they were now a part of this continuum where love transcended mere mortality to touch something divine. Together they rested in the last haven's cradle as the first light painted hope upon weary faces, and their spirits rose with each hue that kissed Dorn's cheek, their union, a quiet but unshakable monument against love lost and found beneath these sacred boughs. Here, on this cherished earth, where time stood still in reverence to the depth of human affection forged between two souls, Ileana felt herself home. Her heart swelled with gratitude that here, upon the last haven's fertile ground, they could exist as freely and eternally entwined. As morning unfolded its golden fingers across their dream-laden face, scarcing away the last tendrils of sleep's embrace, Ileana whispered to her beloved a word that had been his solace in darker times, home, and he smiled back at her with eyes gleaming like dew on morning grass. In this place, where history's heartbeats drummed an unending song of love and belonging, where every step upon the earth beneath the last haven was a testament to enduring affections that no storm nor sun could erode, the air carried with it an almost tangible warmth, suggesting summer's tender kiss upon their skin as they sat side by side, her testament to love that had endured even when its flames were hidden from sight under layers of snow and shadowed rain. The bench bore the etched initials of lovers past. Ileana's hand traced those letters with a gentle caress, feeling connected threads in this continuum where she found herself interwoven into history's most profound love story, a tale not unlike her own now that it too had ripened through seasons. Ileana and her beloved shared an unspoken bond of understanding as their fingers entangled like the roots beneath them, each branch representing a memory laden with both joy and sorrow's weight. Here they sat, in this sacred arboreal haven where life's relentless onslaught seemed but distant thunder to its protective boughs, or place that had become their home within the heart of an enduring forest sanctuary. Ileana took a deep breath and let her words unfurl like mist upon morning air. Home, she whispered into his ear, as he smiled back at her with eyes sparkling in appreciation for this shared moment, a word that held echoes from past encounters where their spirits had sought solace within these very leaves. It was more than a place. It felt like home to them both, the earth upon which they stood firmly rooted and stretching towards heaven's promise with every blossom's bloom beneath the last haven's watchful caretakers. In this realm of intertwined destinies, where time itself seemed a mere spectator rather than an arbiter, Ileana felt the pulse of her own heart resonate through their shared journey, a rhythm that spoke to all who knew them well and would know it for generations yet unborn. As they sat beneath the last haven's protective embrace, where history's whispers mingled with rustling leaves, Ileana took another deep breath before speaking once more. "I'd understand we must return soon," she said gently as her beloved nodded in agreement, her silent pact between two souls that knew the fragility of mortal life yet clung to hope and love like a lifeline. She reached for his hand, their fingers intertwining once again with an unspoken promise. Together they would face whatever tomorrow might hold, because here, upon this sacred earth, where time stood still in reverence set of them, was everything as if the continuum of history had paused to honor just two more stories woven into its vast tapestry. As Ileana looked up at the last haven, she saw not only ancient oaks but a mirror reflecting her own essence back to her. In their shared gaze there was recognition or kinship of spirit that had traversed the expanse from past to present and even into tomorrow. They stood as symbols of an unending song sung by love's undying flame amidst humanity's tempests and calm alike, an anthem for every heart seeking refuge in affection found, lost, then rediscovered beneath these sacred boughs where time remained eternally still. They rose from their bench with a quiet determination that only the most profound of loves can muster, Illianer's hand finding solace within his as they walked away towed for a beacon for others who might find themselves in need, knowing well the last haven's embrace was there to shelter and comfort through whatever seasons came their way. As the first light began its slow journey across the skyline of this ancient forest sanctuary, where Illiana felt home within her heart's chamber, their footsteps whispered along a path trodden by countless others before them, all who had sought refuge in the last haven's eternal arms. Each step upon earth beneath these protective boughs was an act of defiance against the storm and sun alike, for every echoing beat within their souls her on this cherished land where time the couple had spent the night nestled in the last haven's embracer cove, known to few and cherished by fewer still for its unspoiled beauty that seemed suspended outside of time itself. Here was where Illiana felt most at home, not just with Michael but within herself as well, a place she had visited since childhood when the world around her appeared so much harsher without his warmth to temper it. Now in their 20s and more aware than ever before, they understood that this love transcended mere youthful infatuation. It was an anchor amid life's ebbing tides and tempests alike. They arose from the cool forest floor wrapped in a cocoon of comfort only found within the last haven's bosom. Each exhalation seemed to meld into misty breath clouds that rose with them as they walked hand in hand towards their future outside these sacred borders, yet always returning here when needed for solace or reflection. Today was no different, but carried an undercurrent of something deeper, perhaps the silent understanding between two souls destined not just to love each other eternally, but also embody it through every step they took together across this world's unpredictable seasons and landscapes. As they emerged from the last haven's sheltering boughs, Illiana reached into her pocket for the delicate silver locket that had first brought them here so many years before, a relic of their childhood playtimes spent whispered secrets beneath these very trees where time seemed to pause. With Michael's gentle touch guiding hers, they returned it safely back within its velvet-lined box, a symbol not just of the past, but an emblem that continued holding steadfast for them both amidst life's inexorable march forward, a reminder ever so tenderly tethered to their present. Their path stretched out before them, leading away from the last haven and towards a new chapter outside its guardianship, one where they would encounter challenges unknown yet embraced with an unwavering resolve born of countless love-laden steps taken within these hallowed boughs. As Illiana's hand found solace in Michael's, she felt as if their souls were intertwined beyond the mere physical connection so profound that every gesture spoke volumes to each other without uttering a single word, an understanding cultivated through shared silences and whispered dreams beneath this sacred canopy. They ventured forth on foot into the last haven's embrace where their future awaited, yet they remained anchored by the strength of love or force so potent it could weather any storm or sunshine alike. A beacon for others who might find themselves lost in life's darker corners seeking refuge beneath these protective boughs. And as Illiana felt her heartbeat echo within Michael's chest, she knew with certainty that the last haven would always welcome them back to its verdant arms, a sanctuary for every soul who sought solace in affection found amidst humanity's trials and triumphs alike. As the sun climbed higher into the sky, casting golden hues across this ancient forest refuge where Illiana felt home within her heart's chamber, their journey outside the last haven continued forward with quiet determination, a testament to love's enduring flame which illuminated their path even as they ventured forth from these sacred boughs. For every echoing beat within their souls resonated through the expanse of time itself, whispered promises that whatever seasons came upon the last haven would always be there for solace and comfort when needed most, a haven where love's undying embrace could shelter two spirits destined to journey together beneath these timeless boughs. And so they walked away from the last haven, hand in hand with the knowledge that though their footsteps might leave no echo behind within this ancient forest sanctuary, their love story would continue beyond its borders, where even as seasons changed and years blossomed into decades before them as they stepped beyond the last haven's embrace into a world bathed in daylight's warmth, Illiana and Michael felt an unspoken pact binding them even as their footsteps faded within its sacred borders. They moved with purpose, but also carried the weight of anticipation for whatever lay ahead. Each heartbeat was synchronized to echo not just between themselves, but throughout the last haven's ancient trees that had borne witness to countless tales like their own tales, where love found a way even in darkness. The forest path they now followed led them through the untouched wildflowers and over brooks whose waters whispered secrets of old. These natural elements seemed alive with an understanding beyond human comprehension, sharing silent encouragement for what Eleanor felt deep within her a resolute spirit, that love's light could not be snuffed out. The journey outside the forest was a stark contrast to their peaceful refuge. They found themselves in bustling cities where steel and glass reached toward an unforgiving sky, yet they carried with them the last haven's essence, our pocket of tranquillity amidst chaos that no towering structure could overshadow. Eleanor's eyes often wandered to the stars at night, while Michael took solace in his sketches and her laughter when he portrayed their shared history through charcoal on paper, each finding sanctuary within the other's company as they faced this new world together. Seasons shifted around them like pages of a book yet to be read. Summer's verdure gave way to autumn's fiery hues, and then winter's crystal silence before spring renewed their caesura and with fresh bloom. Each cycle was an embrace from time itself, reminding Eleanor and Michael that change is but a canvas for growth. The world beyond the last havens, leaves rustled like applause at each new day they painted together in love's vibrant colors, testament to their enduring bond. As days melded into years, this dance with time continued uninterrupted as Eleanor and Michael moved forward through life hand in hand. Every challenge faced became a stepping stone toward deeper understanding and affection that neither of them could imagine without the other's presence by their side. They encountered trials where darkness threatened to swallow hope, times when sorrow's shadow loomed over hearts heavy with grief. Yet they found solace in knowing the last haven was but a heartbeat away. Its whispers carried on gentle breezes reminded them that even through loss and pain, love could still find fertile ground. And so the cycle of seasons became their metronome to life, a rhythm echoing into eternity as Eleanor's laughter melded with Michael's serene gaze upon a world they now called home, together in its bustling energy, yet always remembering that true harmony was found within the heartbeats of their shared sanctuary. Each day became an opportunity to create memories beneath skies wide and open, a testament not just to love's enduring flame but also to the last haven's legacy in every step they took forward into life, where even as cities evolved around them with the passage of time, their journey remained rooted in a place that was both an anchor and compass within themselves. For years more came before Eleanor's golden hair, now touched by silver threads. For Michael, too, age had graced his features with wisdom earned through shared laughter and silent moments filled only with the weight of unspoken promises between them, an eternal journey together that neither could have traversed without the last haven's guiding light, a haven where their love story continued to unfold within echoes that resonated beyond its ancient boughs. And as they walked hand in hand into another evening's embrace under the comforting gaze of countless stars, Ileana and Michael knew with certainty, no matter what seasons might come upon them or how distant the last haven may seem in their memory's tapestry, its essence remained forever etched within each other's heartbeat as they moved forward on paths intertwined. Their love was a lighthouse standing tall against life's tempests, or beacon not just for themselves, but also guiding ships of kindred spirits to find safe harbor in the last haven's enduring embrace, where every soul seeking solace amidst humanity's trials and triumphs alike was welcomed with open arms. This forest sanctuary had become their shared legacy, and as they continued forward into the tapestry of as Eleanor stretched beneath a quilt that felt like home, Michael reached out with soft touches on her arm before gently waking his love beside him. "Good morning," he whispered into her ear as they shared their first kiss of the day under starlights now replaced by warm sunbeams. They rose together from bed and walked to a small breakfast nook, where Michael poured steaming coffee while Eleanor flipped pancakes with practiced Easter morning ritual that felt more like meditation than mere routine. The scent of freshly baked bread filled the air as they sat down at their wooden table carved from trees, once whispered to be ancient guardians, now humbled by time and nurtured into providing sustenance for two souls connected through a shared journey that spanned years beyond counting days or seasons. As breakfast concluded with laughter over tales of the day before, a tale where they had helped an injured bird find its path back to flight amidst the last haven's whispering leaves and protective shade, Eleanor leaned in close to Michael. "Do you remember she asked tenderly as her fingers traced his jawline with a lightness that spoke of love without words left unspoken for too long. Michael chuckled softly before taking her hands into his own, a gesture he knew had become part ritual, part comforting touch in their shared life here where the air seemed to carry both whispered secrets and promises on its back, like so many leaves caught up in an everlasting breeze. "I remember how we found the last haven," Michael replied with a smile that held decades of untold stories, his voice as steady yet comforting as their shared love had always been for each other, a lighthouse standing resolute against life's stormy seas and offering safe passage to any who felt adrift in the world. The couple strolled through the last haven together after breakfast, its ancient paths winding between them like a dance they knew so well, one that had been choreographed by time itself, but perfect for their hearts' rhythm, symphony of love echoing within every creaking bough and rustling leaf. They paused often to admire the intricate mosaics etched into tree trunks where stories were told not with ink, but through nature's own artistry, using earth as its palette. It was here that Eleanor had found solace when her heart first sought refuge within Michael's embrace. Underneath a sprawling oak whose roots ran deep into legends and whispered secrets from times long past, they sat side by side on the moss-covered grounder place, where their love story was etched not just in memories, but also inscribed within the last haven's very soul. Michael reached out to take Eleanor's hand as a gentle breeze rustled through her golden hair now accented with silver threads, and he knew that no matter the trials or triumphs life might bring forth on their journey forward, their love would remain unbreakable like the last haven's age-old trunk before them. As they rose to continue walking along a path shaded by towering trees whose branches held secrets of ancient times, Ileana looked up at Michael with eyes that glimmered beneath her lashes, a reflection not just of their shared experiences, but also the light within him himself. He had become an anchor and compass in each other's lives. Together they were journeying through life as if it was a single, continuous chapter where love's story unfolded across landscapes that time itself seemed to fear, touching where every sunrise brought new hope for their shared tomorrow within the last haven and beyond its timeless embrace. The couple continued forward into the tapestry of life as one, a dance they had been perfecting since childhood under this very canopy where Eleanor's laughter melded seamlessly with Michael's own, echoes that resonated through the last haven in harmonious melodious symphony composed by their love for each other and played out within its eternal groves. As the sun dipped low on another day's end, casting the silver threads of twilight, were weaving through the last haven's dense foliage, as Eleanor and Michael found their pace once more beneath its towering guardians, whose branches whispered secrets to those who listened closely enough with open hearts. Each step they took was a testament not only to the love that had weathered many seasons, but also an ode to all days yet unseen, or promise of tomorrows filled with shared dreams and quiet whispers at dusk, as if the last haven itself were preparing them for its eternal night. Eleanor's fingers traced the cool metal signet on Michael's wrist, a relic from his ancestors that had become an emblem of their unity, of tangible connection to heritage and love intertwined with each other like ivy around the last haven's ancient stones. With every heartbeat echoing through the hollowed groves, they were writing upon its vast expanse a story not just for themselves, but also as an eternal legacy of human spirit triumphant against time's relentless march forward, or living testament to enduring love that would outlive even the last haven's own tales. The air held the scent of rain on ancient earth, hinting at a world unseen where life whispered in rustling leaves and flowering vines adorned every nook with hues as varied as the emotions etched upon their souls, her kaleidoscope that mirrored the depths within. Michael's hand found Eleanor's, its touch lighter than any spoken word, yet carrying weight enough to anchor her world against the last haven's ever-present embrace of calm and solace in a journey where every sunset promised rebirth. With each morning they greeted anew together amidst the untouched wonders. As Eleanor's hand brushed across Michael's, she felt not just her own skin, but also his essence, their gentle warmth that seemed to pulse in time with the last haven's heartbeat itself. It was as if their love had become synonymous with the very land they walked upon, together, hand in hand, and spirits entwined like roots beneath a forest floor rich with stories, yet told each step forward etched into history's annals in those silver threads of twilight that now danced around them as playfully as the last haven's own ancient brook. Amid the chorus of night insects and creatures unseen, Eleanor would often pause to let Michael lead her deeper amongst groves where moonbeams filtered through canopies like liquid silver, dusting their path of serenade for two lovers bathed in the last haven's tender glow. It was here that they chanced upon a clear glade, the air vibrant with life, and echoes of laughter once shared between Eleanor's parents when she had been but an infant nestled within her mother's Womber memory Michael helped to revive as he recounted tales told by his own grandparents. Their history was a tapestry rich with threads that interlaced their lives, and the last haven cradled it all in its timeless bosom, where the very stones seemed imbued with memory, a place without end or beginning save for what Eleanor's mother had once whispered to her on quieter evenings. In love we find eternity. The evening breeze carried tales of forgotten lands and seas that bore witness to the sunken cities where myth became history beneath their wake. Michael's eyes would light up with a fervor as he spoke passionately about how legends themselves might not have begun in the last haven, but found refuge within its bounds, for it had become more than just an abode, it was sanctuary and storyteller both. Ileana smiled fondly at the thought of her partner's ancestors, who once roamed these very paths under a different sky, where stars told tales not yet written into their shared history, but felt as intimately known to them as the last havens embrace around Ileana and Michael now. She often wondered if they were destined or merely fortunate that here in this ancient place of refuge or haven for souls seeking eternal companionship amid nature's grand theatre, their love was but a chapter yet to unfold, rich with untold stories as endless as the night sky above them. As they ambled onward through the last haven's winding pathways and labyrinthine groves that seemed crafted by time itself, it felt like walking in each other as Ileana brushed a leaf from her robe and set it gently on Michael's shoulder. She let out a contented sigh that seemed to merge with the last haven itself, the ancient forest, where history whispered in every rustling leaf. The air smelled of dew-kissed earth. They had come upon an unassuming clearing today, one so still and serene it felt as if time stood sentinel over their love story's next tender chapter. To think, Michael began with a gentle voice that matched his calm gaze, on the horizon where blue-black dusk melded into night's velvet curtain, that our ancestors might have found solace here too. Ileana followed him to an old stone bench half concealed by intertwining branches. The silence between them held a comfort that only the deepest of connections could provide as he continued his reverie about their heritage, sacred grounds, their place where love was not just remembered, but lived in every creaky hollow and shadowed nook beneath verdant canopies, whispering ancestral secrets. They sat side by side on the weather-worn bench that had borne witness to countless lovers before them who found their eternity here too. The last haven, with its unparalleled beauty and timeless grace, cradled stories like treasures beneath her emerald blank hair, refuge for souls in search of a love as enduring as the stars that watched over it each night. Ileana, Michael said softly, his hand reaching to caress hers tenderly under their shared robe's folds, I dreamt again last night by this very bench about our families, histories, their lives intertwined with these woods long before us. His eyes held a depth of wonder that mirrored the forest around them. The couple had become so attuned to each other and the last haven's mystique, they often felt as if their ancestors lingered close by guardians, angels in spirit, who guided Ileana's hands during her delicate floral arrangements or Michael's footsteps, while he traced the patterns of ancient trees with his own. I sometimes think we are not just here for a reason, murmured Ileana, watching as twilight unfurled its palette across the last haven's skyline or canvas, where every hue and shade spoke in tender whispers to the night that listened patiently through ages. Perhaps it's fate or simply destiny entwining our paths with this sacred place. As they walked hand in hand along a cobblestone path edged by mossy stones as old as the last haven itself, Michael would often pause to trace the weathered initials of his forebears that were carved into one such stone, a silent ode to love's enduring legacy. The couple discovered an age-old wishing well nestled within a grove where light seemed born and died in moments like fireflies caught on wings against the darkening night, their reflections swirling with unspoken hopes as they peered into its depths, a mirror to souls yearning for eternity. As Ileana leaned closer to Michael's ear beneath a canopy of starlight that filtered through leaves and danced upon his skin like fingertips, she shared dreams once woven from the threads of legends told by fireside tales, where heroes sought destinies in twilight's embrace. Michael would respond with stories about the last havens, guardians, spirits that had danced among them since their meeting under a moonlit sky, guiding Eleanor and Michael through the veiled history of this eternal sanctuary where they felt as if time held no dominion over love's tender bloom. The final chapter before sleep beckoned with its siren caller night, when the last haven seemed to hum their own symphony, a melody that resonated within the very marrow of Eliana and Michael's joined spirits as they lay on mossy ground beneath an ancient oak whose roots had cradled love stories since time immemorial. "I feel like we are part of the last haven's continuum," whispered Eliana, her breath a gentle murmur against the backdrop of nocturnal harmony that encased them in its embracer place where past and future merged into one timeless now as they drifted closer to dreaming. And thus, beneath the last haven's watchful gaze as chapter 28 unfurled its narrative petals, beneath the last haven's ever-present watch, Eliana and Michael found themselves enveloped in a gentle whisper of leaves that seemed to murmur ancient secrets through their intertwined fingers. Night after night had they listened intently as the forest itself shared stories with them, tales not just from history, but also prophecies about what was yet to come, told by none other than the last haven's guardian spirits themselves in hushed tones that mimicked rustling autumn leaves. Their nightly rendezvous beneath the oak became a sacred tradition or communion with time and nature, where Eleanor would find solace in Michael's soothing presence, her heart echoing his through their shared breaths like music notes on an unseen stave of life that only they could hear. They learned to read one another's dreams as if decoding messages from the universe itself. Every night was a new chapter where love wrote its own destiny within the last haven's eternal embrace, and each shared vision brought them closer under an expanse of starlight that kissed their skin with warmth. One evening, Michael recounted tales told by his ancestors about the guardian spirits who had watched over this land since time immemorial. Spirits whose eyes glowed in hues reflecting the heart's deepest desires and fears alike. It was said that these entities could shape reality with their thoughts, crafting destinies as easily as children fashion fairy tales from sticks and stones. Eliana felt herself drawn deeper into this mystical world, where love's tender bloom seemed not just possible, but predestined under the canopy of stars above them both. In turn, Michael would listen with rapt attention to stories that flowed like rivers through her mind-stories she had absorbed from legends passed down by firelight's comforting glow in faraway lands where heroes embarked on quests not just for glory but also for the profound connection they found between souls. These tales of twilight's embrace and destinies sought within it made Eleanor feel as though she herself was a character from one such legend, her heartbeat syncing with Michael's in perfect cadence under the last haven's watchful gaze. As the night deepened into what felt like an eternity wrapped around their joined hands and hearts, they both allowed themselves to be guided by intuition fair souls, becoming one within this safe haven where time had no master over love's tender bloom. They would fall asleep, holding each other close in the mossy ground beneath the last haven's ancient oak whose roots were like fingers that held stories of generations past and promised futures yet to be written into existence, weaving Eleanor and Michael together within its timeless narrative embrace, with every gentle touch upon their skin. One particular night under the watchful moon's silver gaze, as it bathed them in a soft luminescence that seemed almost otherworldly, they shared dreams of futures where the last haven would continue to thrive a sanctuary untouched by time's relentless march. Their voices were low and tender against the backdrop of nocturnal harmony. Whispers blended with a symphony that resonated within their joined spirits, creating an ethereal melody as they lay upon earth's nurturing bosom under the last haven's protective umbrella. Eleanor found herself feeling incredibly fortunate to be in this place of perpetual twilight, a realm where past and future coalesced into a singular present now as they were enveloped within the embrace that seemed both tangible and intangible at once. As she closed her eyes, Michael's heartbeat pulsed through them like waves on an eternal shore. Their breathing became one with nature's ringsar duet of souls in perfect harmony beneath a sky painted with the deepest shades of dusk and dawn that seemed to know no distinction between light or dark. As they surrendered themselves fully into sleep, Michael placed his hand on Eleanor's cheek. Their fingers entwined became instruments, through which the last haven itself spoke, or melody composed by the heartbeats, synchronizing with each other and echoing in every living thing around them, as if all of nature was but a single instrument playing within this grand symphony. Within Iljarnar's dream she travelled back to when they first met under